Hello students, how are you? I hope you are doing good. In the last video, I had explained the chapter Deep Water to you, and I hope you all have gone through the chapter and have understood everything whichever we have done in the class. Now let's continue with the same chapter. I had told you that even when only one paragraph is left, but then there are many lines, many things which need a deeper interpretation. So that's why I had stopped there only and asked you to wait for the next video. So let's now continue. We had done how William Douglas had learned swimming, and he describes the process of this learning in a very detailed way. Then when he learns swimming, then he decides to remove his fear. For that, first of all, he swims alone in the swimming pool at YMCA. Then he has some residual doubts, so he goes to Lake Wentworth, and only once the terror comes to him. So at last he goes to Lake Wentworth, and there he sees that he has completely subdued his terror of water. So he's so happy that from the Gilbert Peak he gives a kind of he screams with joy. So much was the intensity of his happiness. Now, he says, the experience had a deep meaning for me, as only those who have known stark terror and conquered it can appreciate. So, he says that this experience has a very great meaning for him. And this meaning and this significance can be understood only by that people who have known stark terror and have conquered it. See, it's very, very easy when you advise somebody, when you suggest something to somebody, when you give big lectures on any topic, anything. But then, the experience which he has undergone and its significance can be understood by only that person who has known stark terror, deep terror, and has been able to conquer it. So not only he has been through that stark terror, but also he has conquered it. So, what he writes? In death, there is peace. Great statement. In death, there is peace. There is terror only in the fear of death. It's a universal truth. See, death is very peaceful. And there is fear, there is terror only in the fear of death. Okay, so as Roosevelt knew, when he said, all we have to fear is fear itself. So, we should not fear anything. We should fear only fear. Fear is only what we should be afraid of. Now, he has a deeper insight into this philosophical thought. You have to understand this, in simpler words like this. See, if you are afraid of something, then you are afraid of it because that thing might lead to your death. Isn't it? If you are afraid of something, then you are afraid of it because you know or you feel that that thing can lead to your death. But death is very peaceful. In death, there is no fear. In death, there is only peace. So ultimately, it's not that thing which you should be afraid of. You should be afraid of fear only, because there is fear in the fear of death, not in death. Because after death, there is complete peace. After death, there is no fear. So fear is itself to be afraid of. सिर्फ डर से हमें डर लगना चाहिए. क्यों? क्योंकि डेथ के बाद तो हमें कोई फीलिंग ही नहीं, हम तो बिल्कुल दैट इज कंप्लीट, देयर इज कंप्लीट पीस. So this is a great insight, great philosophical thought which William Douglas has understood only when he has undergone this experience. Then he says, because I had experienced both the sensation of dying and the terror that fear of it can produce, the will to live somehow grew in intensity. So he says that he has experienced both. First, he has experienced sensation of dying. When he was drowning in that pool, he had experienced that sensation of dying. And second, the terror which fear can produce. So the fear of death can produce great terror, and that also he has experienced. So he has experienced two things. First thing he has experienced is the sensation of dying. Second thing which he has experienced is the fear which that sensation of dying can produce. And since he has experienced both these things, the intensity, the will to live has become more. Now, the will to live is more intense with him. At last, he says, at last I felt released, free to walk the trails and climb the peaks and to brush aside fear. So that means now he felt released. Now he felt released means now he is released, completely free from his fear of water, and therefore he is free. See, here he has combined the word free and release and fear. If you are released from fear, then only you are free. You are not free until and unless you are in the grips of fear. So now, since he is released out of his fear of water, that is why he feels free and he walks the trails. That means he walks the rough roads, pahadi raste. So he walks down the hilly roads and climb the peaks and brushes aside fear. So this is his kind of personal account, how he has been able to brush aside fear, how he has been able to get himself released, get himself free from fear. Now this is the chapter is done, and we here see that there is a very deep thought here. Now, first thing is that we should not be afraid of fear. Now, I am starting to discuss the theme of the chapter, and after this we shall do the question answers. So when we read the chapter, we see William Douglas. He has faced a terrible experience where he is completely dead. He is completely drowned, near about dead. when he is so afraid that, he cannot sleep for so many days, he has haunting fear and everything, he feels that this kind of fear has handicapped him, he's not able to do fishing or boating or canoeing, anything. Then he decides to learn swimming, and that's a great decision on his part, because ultimately it's not swimming which he has to do. He has to remove fear of water. So what is the theme which we derive at? First thing is that in death there is peace. There is fear only in the fear of death. This is the first one. Second is that if we are truly determined, and if we work under proper guidance and with true conviction, then we can be released, we can be free, or we can remove any kind of fear. Third thing is practice and hard work and perseverance can make our work fruitful. There is nothing in this world which we cannot achieve through our consistent effort. Like here, the writer William Douglas has been able to remove his fear of water completely because of his willpower, because of his determination, because of his perseverance. Okay? Then let's come to our protagonist, to our writer, William Douglas. See, he has emerged as a strong personality, a person who doesn't accept defeat. When he was child, when he was 3 to 4 years old, then also he had experienced the overpowering force of water. He had complete aversion of water from that time. When he was 10 years of old, or maybe 11, then he had this terrible experience where he had drowned. So from there on, he started having fear of water. But did he succumb to this fear of water? He saw that this handicap, this fear of water, this water phobia had completely changed his life. He could not do fishing, he could not do canoeing, he could not, he could not take his, he could not have his bath in under the, cascades and all. So he could not enjoy life to its full. So, and what was the reason? The reason was his fear of water. So what did he do? Did he avoid water for his whole life? No. He decided to learn to swim. He took proper guidance and he did not hurry with anything. He did not rush with anything. He took proper time. But his efforts were consistent. It was taking time, but it was consistent. And that is the main thing. It can be related to anything, your study or anything. It has to be consistent, like William Douglas was. And when he learned swimming, did he sit down there only? No, because he knew that the work of instructor was over. The work of instructor was only to teach him swimming. But his work was not over. His work was to completely subdue the fear of water. And therefore, he started working on that fear. and how much determined he was. See, from October to April, so many months he took in learning to swim. And from April to July, such consistency. From April to July, he swam alone in the swimming pool. After he was sure that he could swim alone in the swimming pool, then he went to Warm Lake and then to Lake Wentworth. So, slow and steady wins the race. So his progress was slow but steady, and it was fruitful at last. So William Douglas emerges out as a person who is a complete winner in his life, because he has been able to release himself from his own fear, and his will to live has become much more intense because he has felt the experience, the sensation of drowning, the sensation of dying, both. He has known stark terror and he has been able to conquer it. This is what should be our key point in anything which we do. Now, a few lines about the instructor. See, the instructor has also to be praised here, because he also must have known that his work was not only to train William Douglas. His work was to remove the fear of swimming, remove the fear that he may drown while swimming. See the kinds of steps which he has, innovative steps which he has done, and how much effort he has undertaken for his pupil William Douglas. How much creative idea. First step, what did he do? He put a belt across William Douglas, then had put a rope, attached a rope to his belt, attached it to a pulley which ran to an overhead cable and pulley, and it was held by the instructor himself. So 3 to 4 months, the same exercise, the same step, he continued with his student. Back and forth, he released and then held, released and held. And slowly his student William Douglas shed out parts of his fear. So see the kind of patience this instructor has, and see the kind of innovative idea which he undertakes. Then again the second step, then he taught him how to kick his legs. He with his innovative things, innovative ideas, William Douglas could control his legs. It was a very great thing. And the instructor has a lot of patience, because he takes a lot of time to teach his student. He doesn't hurry with him. And only when he is sure that all the parts are perfectly okay, then he then he asks him to join those parts, and then asks him to swim. So the technique which he uses, and the kind of patience he shows, the kind of creativity which he shows in training a person who is afraid of water, that is of course commendable. So here we see that with your consistent effort, with your willpower, with your determination, with your hard work, you can conquer anything and everything. And this applies not only to this lesson but to everybody's life, to your life, to my life, to everybody's life. So, my dear students, this is all for the explanation part. We also have covered the theme. We also have covered the character sketches of William Douglas and the Instructor. So, in the next video, I shall be discussing the question answers. Be ready for it. Till then, take care of yourselves. Bye.